Pedro Martinez says the Red Sox have the hottest rotation in the American League.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk it back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
That's right, and we're bringing it back to the bullpen like we do every day here now at the Locked On Network on the Locked On MLB channel, where you can find Paul Francis Sullivan for the Locked On MLB all season. You can find myself and Mike Stanton talking baseball, talking pitching, and we are pitching heavy tonight. Mike, you like to hear that being the former pitcher yourself.
Oh, man. I mean, it's what the game is really about. If it didn't have any pitchers, then you wouldn't have baseball. So it is the most important part. I don't care how many home runs are hit.
That's right, because without someone delivering those pitches, and look,
right.
all through spring training, you have a combination of, up and coming stars, rookies, guys getting invited to big league camp, trying to make a name for themselves. Mm-hmm. You have your stalwart starters, your aces, your frontline guys trying to build up slowly. Sometimes working on new stuff. We saw Houston's Hunter Brown has been working on a pickoff move. And of course, Brian McTaggart asked him immediately, hey, so is that a new move? And Hunter Brown's like, I've always had that in my bag, And so everybody's an expert at everything, right?
Sure.
But tonight, let's just launch into it. You actually pitched for the Boston Red Sox. You know what it's like 2 different times. And Pedro Martinez, who
Actually, I played with Pedro. It was for a grand total of 4 days.
But you know what? I can't say that. But they came out today, MLB.com, had an article where Pedro Martinez talked about the Red Sox rotation and in an offseason full of them losing Alex Bregman and other stuff in the news. This is a good, I think, confidence boost for this rotation. Mike, tell me your take on this. Garrett Crochet is the guy that heads up a really good rotation.
Well, listen, the Red Sox organization has always been known for, and you go back to the first time I played with them was before they became really good. This was 95, 96. They started their run in like 98, 99. That's when Pedro went over there. And, they're one of the best teams on the planet. And we went head to head many, many, many times. It's the biggest rivalry in Major League Baseball, in sports, really. And what is the first thing that has to happen when you have a rivalry? First, you have to have 2 good teams. And you had 2 great teams in the Yankees and the Red Sox, and we had some epic battles. And listen, when Pedro Martinez speaks, people listen. You're talking about the Hall of Famer. You're talking about a guy that arguably is one of the best right-handed pitchers we have ever seen. Definitely, probably the best right-handed pitcher, or one of the best pitchers of this era, of my era. This guy put up crazy good numbers with ridiculously good stuff in an era that there was offense like crazy. They call it the PED era. But home runs were off the chart. Guys were hitting heavy average, and Pedro was just flat out dominating. So when he talks, people listen. And what he had to say is this rotation that they've put together is a rotation that mimics something that they had back in their heyday, which is, the late 90s, early 2000s, with Pedro Martinez at the top of the rotation.
Yeah, exactly. Garrett Crochet will get the opening day start March 26th in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And look, Pedro said, he compared watching him to arriving in Boston in 1998. He basically said Garrett Crochet is a pitcher that you build around. Sure. So go through this rotation, Garrett. I'm gonna listen. I don't want to step on any toes, especially about not Pedro Martinez. Right. But
I'm a little bit more hardcore when it comes to using the word ace, which he said, Pedro said that this is an ace. An ace to me, there's only a couple of those in the league. And one of the things you have to do is you have to pitch well for more than just 1 year. Now, if you look at what Garrett Crochet, no, listen, he's a big dude. He's a power pitcher. He's left-handed. He carries a high velocity. He strikes out guys like crazy. But you're talking about a guy that, last year had an incredible season. 2025, 32 starts, full season, 205 innings with 255 strikeouts, had an ERA of just a little bit north of 2.5. So, a wonderful season. I mean, great season. Well on his way to being an ace. But you go back to 2024, it's a little bit different. 32 starts, but he only had 146 innings. I mean, you're not talking about a guy, 2023, he only pitched in 13 games. So there, he was coming back from injury. Now, in those 146 innings he had in 2024, he had 209 strikeouts. I mean, that is a crazy, crazy high rate. So you're talking about a guy that has high-end stuff. And listen, am I splitting hairs? Of course I am. But you know what? This is our podcast. I can split hairs if I want to. So
that's right.
So Crochet, one of the best arms in Major League Baseball, another big-time power left-handed arm, to go with Skubal. So, was in the Cy Young consideration last year. So not quite an ace yet, has another good season. We very well may put him in that category, but a top of the rotation, number one, no doubt, if he stays healthy.
Right. And he is followed by Sonny Gray, who I think is kind of known as the stabilizer of the group. Sure. Ranger Suarez, who signed with the Red Sox at 5-year, $130 million deal. And then you have Brayan Bello, who is a guy that had a breakout season at age 27. You've got guys that throw for velocity. You've got, Sonny Gray's not power.
Well, let's go through these one at a time. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but Sonny Gray is really the opposite of Crochet, the opposite of Ranger Suarez. Well, he's also right-handed, which both of those guys are left-handed, and even Bello. Bello's got really good stuff also. Sonny Gray is not a power pitcher. This is a guy that relies on movement, throws a lot of off-speed pitches, a lot of breaking balls, but the reason he's the stabilizing force is because he's the veteran in the group. He's the guy that has been through it. He's been there. He's done that. He's pitched in big games. He's pitched in big markets. There's a lot there's a lot of information that Sonny Gray has, and that he can also pitch in a big game. So it's a great addition to bring in a guy like Sonny Gray, just simply because there's so much information for the younger pitchers. But also, he's just flat out good, and he's unlike any other pitcher you have in your rotation. Ranger Suarez, another big-time power left-handed arm, big Cy Young. Hasn't been able to stay on the field all the time the way he would like to. Hopefully, as he gets older, he's going to be able to do that. But another, big strikeout, big swing and miss, ball moving all over the place with high velocity. And this is why Pedro Martinez is talking about the rotation, going back, making it equivalent to going back into the late 90s when he won Cy Young, and then Derek Lowe was, in the top 3 or 4 for Cy Young also. So, that's kind of what he has pictured for this rotation right now.
Yeah, exactly. And, I'm excited to see Bello and what he does this year. I think he is an extremely hard worker, where an off season where the fans in Boston wanted bats. Look, they got better with arms. And
this goes against kind of the Red Sox whole mantra back when I first played for them. Back then it was, let's have an adequate starting rotation. Let's have a good bullpen, and then we're going to beat teams into submission. Well, we had terrible defense. The offense got off to a very slow start, and we're talking about 1996. And that equation that just didn't work. We didn't play very well. I got traded at the trade deadline. I went to Texas, and they actually played better after they got rid of me. I don't know if I had anything to do with that, but they got some players in and started playing more solid, more fundamentally sound baseball, which we just simply didn't play that early in the season. Then you get to 97, 98, 99. Now all of a sudden, Big Papi is their DH, and
right.
Pedro Martinez. I mean, you're talking about one of the best rosters in all of baseball. And like I said, we had some epic battles against those dudes.
Now, speaking of epic battles, we're going to talk about the other side of this rivalry, because the Yankees have some aging talent, and something came out in an article that I would like to tackle about one Giancarlo Stanton next. MLB opening day is almost here. You can feel the excitement, the fresh starts, the big expectations, the first crack of the bat, whether it's the rookie campaign you can't wait to see or the division race that's going to go to the wire. The only problem is getting tickets can be a grind. Long queues, surprise fees, prices jumping at checkout. With Game Time, their app, the innovation, they unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's simple to use. I've used it. I love the seat views. Those are huge. A panoramic view from the exact seat that you buy. The zone deals where you pick the section, they pick the seats. You can also follow your favorite team and get alerts when new deals drop. 2 taps, it's done. No stress, no hidden fees, just the great seats you want in minutes. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. Download Game Time today. That's right. We want y'all to join the Everydayer Club. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer and make sure you check that out. You get ad-free episodes of this podcast of Locked On MLB. You can join the Discord server and so much more. So if you are an Everydayer, join the Everydayer Club. All right, Mike. So we now go from Boston to, from Boston to New York. You may have to unmute your mic.
Couple hours south. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. No, yeah, definitely. So we're going from Boston. We're going over to New York. We're talking about Giancarlo Stanton. Now, this is a guy that has been riddled with injuries, and
yes,
not just, any injury, real major issue with tennis elbow in both arms.
Both elbows.
He's been dealing with it since 2024. And look, I'm no scientist or I'm no physical therapist or I don't have a medical degree, but if you have tennis elbow in both arms and you are a slugger in Major League Baseball, that can't be a recipe for success.
Well, no, and the crazy thing is he still actually swung the bat pretty well last year. Hit 273, had a slugging percentage of just shy of 600, 594, and that's with 2 bad arms. Now, he didn't get a full season, which he doesn't ever get a full season. He's always on the IL, but he still hit 24 home runs with 2 bad elbows. Now, if you've never had tennis elbow or the pitcher's version of tennis elbow, which is, so it's called epicondylitis. It's tendonitis, okay? And where it is the tennis elbow, it hurts in this area right here, okay? And it can be extremely, extremely painful. I think that's called lateral epicondylitis. I had medial epicondylitis, which is the pitcher's version of the tennis elbow, but it's on the inside. It's on the inside of the elbow. And I did pitch through it with some very strong anti-inflammatories, and they didn't use me a whole lot when I was going through this. I should have went on the DL, but I was hard-headed about stuff like that. And again, it could be very painful to the point that I'm like, you know what? I blew out my elbow. It hurts this bad. And then they took the MRI and they go, yeah, you just got a little inflammation in there. I go, okay, wow. Well, we'll deal with that and we'll keep going forward. But for a guy like Giancarlo, who people need to understand, this is a Greek god. I mean, he is absolutely shredded. He's built like a linebacker. He is massive. Now he has toned down a little bit as far as just the overall muscle that's on his frame.
Right.
But I mean, I'm sitting here looking at his stats. The last time he had a full season of at bats was 2018. He had 617 at bats. Had a great year, 38 home runs, 100 RBIs. Didn't hit hit pretty well at 280. The rest of the time he spends time on the IL. There's, even though he is a DH, he's not on the field a whole lot. But to have these issues still cropping up after a full off season, and you're in spring training now, and they haven't put him in a game yet. I mean, what does that mean going forward? Now, what he has said is, I'm going to have a full season. I don't care if I can't, I don't care what happens. I'm going to do everything I can to stay on the field. Now, what he said is he can't open a bottle.
Right.
This is how bad it hurts. So he's having a tough time turning things. I can't open a bottle. I can't open a bag of chips. Okay. I don't know how many chips he really eats with the shape that he's in. He can probably eat anything he wants. But, the point is,
they're like
you're talking about a
chips
power
or
hit.
something.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure they're like power chips or something.
Definitely have some protein in them. No doubt.
Right.
100% have protein in. I'm sure they're just yummy too. Give me Lay's or Doritos. I'll take those. Anyways, it's one of those things that it's got to be disheartening for Giancarlo. It's got to be disheartening for the Yankees that he's still going through this after all this time over the whole offseason, and he's still having these same issues. And now you're going to be using him a lot more, but because he's saying he's going to play, there's going to be pain. We'll have to see what he does. But like I said, he still hit 24 home runs and had a slugging percentage of almost 600 last year with this same issue.
Man, I know a ton of people who would love to go through the pain of being able to hit 24 home runs and hit 273 in the major leagues. The good thing is right now for the Yankees, they say that in spring training so far in the cage, he does feel good. He does feel good doing outfield drills. And the Yankees do believe that if he has regular at-bats for 2 weeks in a row, they really believe that he will be ready to go into a full season. Yeah,
that's why he hasn't played yet. They don't want, they don't want to put him in there and take the chance of pissing off those elbows even more. Wait till later in the spring that he only needs a couple weeks of games. He doesn't have to get ready to play a position. So he doesn't have to do the defensive side of it. It's all going to be offense, him being the DH. And listen, the dude can put up massive numbers if he's healthy and if he's in the lineup. He just hasn't done that in many years.
Yeah. I mean, with him and with Aaron Judge being in the same lineup, and if they're both full strength, I remember anytime the Yankees are in the playoffs and Giancarlo's up, you're like, okay, this guy can send one to the moon in a second. I mean, the ball just absolutely flies off his bat.
He is the hardest hitting player in Major League Baseball,
and it looks effortless when he swings.
We'll say history, but it's only during StatCast because prior to that you didn't get exit velocity. But if you did like a top 10 or a top 20 hardest balls in Major League Baseball, and by the way, they're all over like 120 miles an hour, which is absolutely ridiculous how hard he hits the ball.
It's unreal.
He has like, if there was 20 of them, he probably has 16 or 17 of them. The hardest hit balls in Major League Baseball history.
I can't imagine though what guys like Mickey Mantle,
pitchers,
and
Chuck
Babe Ruth,
and Duck. Oh my God!
Well, I'm just saying, I can't imagine with the strength and conditioning that the modern player has.
Sure,
you give that to Mantle, you give that to Ruth and those guys and Josh Gray, and I mean,
I'll tell you what. Guys, I don't know if you remember looking back at Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle was jacked.
He was yoked. Yeah.
Now you got to remember, he was, this is a country boy. I think it was from Nebraska or Oklahoma. He was a country boy, used to throwing bales, Oklahoma, throwing bales of hay around, stuff like that. So, he didn't necessarily get in the gym, but dude worked out. He was jacked.
Yeah, he had man strength. In our next segment, we're going to talk not about man strength, but we're going to talk about dad strength,
daughter strength.
That's right, daughter strength. And Look, it's amazing the inspiration that your kids can have, even if you're an aging Major League Baseball player. We're going to talk about that next. All right, everybody, thank y'all for tuning in. I want to let y'all know about our friends at Indeed, because here at Backs of the Bullpen, we are all about getting the job done and getting it done right, because you have deadlines stacking up. You have your inbox flowing. That one position that still is sitting open, the pressure's on you, and you need the right hire. This is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. You are out there getting the real people that you need. Here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. The listeners of this show, Backs of the Bullpen, will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. All right, let's talk about this. I actually was more excited to talk about this story than the other two stories, just because I'm a father. I have a daughter who's 24. I have a grandson who's 3.
As
Samuel.
Yep.
My youngest is graduating this year. I mean, we got a lot going on in the Chancey household. But when you hear a story of a 19-year Major League veteran who has a daughter who loved when her dad played in a city, and she writes a letter, you got to talk about the story.
Well, and people need to go and see the writing. I mean, I don't know how old this young lady is. She's not very old. It is the cutest. The letter itself, in the article, and I think it was this MLB.com.
Yes.
The letter, there's a picture of the letter in there, and it is the cutest thing. You know, there's words misspelled. It's, you could tell she is not very old.
So the origin of this was back in December. Brooke is her name. And I believe this was posted by Max Scherzer's wife. She wrote a letter, put it in an envelope, and she asked Max and his wife to mail it to the Blue Jays.
Right.
And she got her wish. And this is what it said. It said, "Dear Blue Jays, I am so sorry that you didn't win the World Series. I hope that you win next time. I hope my dad is back on the team. My whole family loves spending time in Toronto with our dad. We love the aquarium, CN Tower, and of course the stadium. I am looking forward to coming back next season. Love, Max Scherzer's daughter." Now, if the Dodgers play the Blue Jays again, and if they beat the Blue Jays, they should be ashamed of themselves. You want to break this daughter? You want to break this little girl's heart? Come on.
That's right. That's right. The Dodgers are now the evil empire. They have no right to win ever. They should not win any games, even though they're probably going to win a couple, I would imagine. This is really cute. And then the reason this is a story is because they just re-signed, they being the Toronto Blue Jays, just re-signed Max Scherzer to come back for 2026. Is this Max's last hurrah? It could be. I mean, we're talking about, spring training has already opened and now he finally gets a job. Now, listen, Max still has good stuff. He's not throwing the ball by you like he used to, 10, 12 years ago when he's winning Cy Youngs and all that kind of stuff, but he still can spin the ball and he still has a presence. I mean, I think that has a lot to do with it. It's like the Tigers bringing back Justin Verlander. I mean, you're talking about the same caliber of player. These are the two best pitchers of this generation. And, to bring in a guy like that, that's a marquee name. Even if he's not a marquee pitcher, top of the rotation pitcher anymore, it's still a marquee name. There's still weight that comes with this. But I love the fact that you see the human side of this. This is something we don't get to see very often. And I love the fact that Max didn't do it. Max's wife did it, was the one that threw this out there and let us see the letter. So thank you very much to the Scherzer family. Brooke, you're awesome. And I'm glad you get to go back and you get to watch your dad play for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Right. I mean, this is a guy this is a tenderhearted story of a guy who in last World Series even intimidated his own manager when his manager came to pull him out of the game.
Yeah, he did.
I mean,
he went Mad Max on him. That's where Mad Max came from.
I mean, this back in 2018, Mike, this guy threw 220 innings, 300 strikeouts. Yeah. I mean, his career is absolutely astounding. 3,489 strikeouts coming into the season. And
I think 3 Cy Youngs. I think he's won 3 Cy Youngs.
It's 3 Cy Youngs. I mean, this guy, 3 Cy Youngs, 8-time All-Star, 2-time World Series winner. He is just someone that he's that guy that in the playoffs who's got that fight. Like if you've got to give the ball to a guy, he's got that dog in him, as they say.
Yeah, well, he's a guy that actually, even at his more advanced age, he still has to work to stay under control. And we always you always laughed at the idea that this is Mad Max because he's actually a nice guy until he gets on the mound, and then man, the dude just goes cross-eyed. There's 2 or 3 people sitting on his shoulder talking to him or something because he can be a psycho, especially when things don't go right. And if you're going to come out and talk to him, you better buckle your chin strap because you're probably going to get some choice words and get told to get off his freaking mound.
So one of my favorite moments in Max Scherzer's career was when they first started doing the checks for the pitchers.
Oh my gosh.
And he
hilarious?
Was so demonstrative and so
hilarious.
Animated.
Yes. Took his belt off and kind of threw it. Got kicked out. I think he got kicked out. He definitely got fined. But
he did.
It was funny to watch, but that's just, he is so intense when he's on the mound that who knows what's going to happen. Hopefully he pitches well and it's all focused in one position, one place. But if things start going wrong, it could kind of get focused on many different places, including the umpire.
Well, who's more emotional, him or Madison Bumgarner?
Well, Mad Bum, no, it's Max. Max showed it more. Mad Bum, he was a little different because something had to happen, or something that he perceived happened.
That's true.
Madison Bumgarner was a guy that you didn't want to mess with. That was another, just country boy. Do you remember the story came out about him team roping? He actually went to rodeos under an alias,
under a fictitious name, right?
He had an alias because he knew that nobody in baseball was going to let him go team roping, but that's what he wanted to do, and I guess he was pretty good at it if he went to rodeos. And I don't know if he won any belt buckles or not, but pretty interesting story. But yeah, it's I would probably say Mad Max a little bit over Mad Bum until Madison got cross-eyed, and then who knows, because then he's ready to fight. He's ready to throw down.
They're both, and then you have pitchers throughout the years. I remember Brian Wilson, who was just a very interesting
I played with
fellow.
Brian. Yes.
At
the beginning of his career with San Francisco, when he just got called up, before he had the zany beard and he did all this stuff, he was a different dude, nice guy. But yeah, it was before all the craziness.
Now, did you ever have any interactions with Jose Lima when he was with the Astros? Because he would
only across the field.
He was fiery. He said there was a little man in his glove that he talked to. I
don't know how much of that was real and how much of that was just for show.
I
do know what ended his career. Minute Maid. Actually, Enron, yeah. When he walked into that stadium, he talked himself out of pitching in the major league. He said, "I can't pitch here. The stadium, the fences are just too close. I can't do it." And he got lit. But he was he had a couple pretty good seasons, especially pitching in the Astrodome.
So a funny story. We were at the Astrodome as kids, and all the players used to park in an uncovered parking area. It wasn't very glamorous. Mm-hmm. Well, we saw Jose Lima getting his it was like a Chevy Blazer. Okay. So he takes off in this little Chevy Blazer, and so we're chasing him down this road around the Astrodome, and he stops and puts a car in park, and he gets out and he's like, "Guys, what are you doing?" And we're like, "We want your autograph." And he's like, "It's dangerous. You'll get run over." And we were like, "But we love Lima time." And he's like, "Lima time." And he started doing some little dance and signed the baseball for us. That was one of the coolest guys. And I remember as a kid,
he was actually a big dude too. That was not a small human being. That was surprised me because with all the antics and everything, pretty good athlete. But yeah, he, Enron got in his head immediately, and that was kind of it.
That is, and before you know it, we're going to be watching pitchers have to get in and out of innings, and whether they get in and out of their own mind and getting out of their way will be something that we talk about, whether it's home runs, whether it's complete games, whether it's no hitters. We are going to be here with you. We want to thank you for tuning in to Back to the Bullpen. Next time when we get together this next week, we're going to be talking about projections on minor league systems. We're going to be looking at some different rotations and try to just make our way around the league. So if you have a favorite team or a favorite topic you want us to discuss, make sure you let us know. Subscribe to this Locked On MLB channel. And if you never miss an episode, join the Everydayer Club that is built for you. Get our shows ad-free, plus the members-only Discord and so much more. So next, we send you on video to the first 24/7 Locked On podcast YouTube channel. And make your second listen, Locked On Fantasy Baseball, as we gear up for the MLB season. Mike, this has been a great show. And I'm excited about next week and what we get to bring.
It's been fun, and we get closer and closer and closer to WBC, and then closer to opening day. So, yeah, we've got a lot of great baseball coming up. WBC is going to be fun, even if the Cuban team did have some travel issues. All the players were cleared, but there were 8 people in the party that were not able to come over with all the new immigration laws that are going on. So, it's politics seem to reach everywhere, including in baseball.
They do. Well, you know what? This has been a great show. We look forward to go have a great weekend. If you're going to spring training, enjoy it. For myself, for Mike, and everybody here Back to the Bullpen, thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all have a good one.
Adios.